Kicks sound loud by themselves, but weak inside the drop. You're probably trying to make one layer do everything, and that's usually where the punch dies. A hard kick is not just distortion, it's structure. Punch for impact, crunch for weight and aggression, texture for energy, and then control on the final bus. So let me show you how I build it. I'm starting with the punch. For this layer, I'm just using a short attack sample. And this is important. This is not supposed to be the full kick. It's only the impact. So I'm not trying to destroy it. I just want it to hit fast and clean. First, I add an EQ and clean a little bit of the mid-range. Then I boost a little bit around the upper mids so the transient cuts through. After that, I add a transient shaper. Just a little more attack, a little more pump, nothing crazy. And then I use a clipper very lightly, just to control the peak. Now listen before and after. The punch is still clean, but now it hits harder. And this is where most people mess up. They start distorting the punch way too early, and then wonder why the kick has no impact. Now we need the crunch. This is where the kick starts getting its weight and aggression. For this layer, I'm opening Serum 2. I create an LFO and map it to the level, so the sound behaves more like a kick instead of just a synth note. Then I also map that movement to the filter. After that, I start choosing wavetables for the oscillators. The goal here is to find something with strong low end, but still enough character to become aggressive later. I'm also using the sub-oscillator and mapping it with the same movement. So now this layer is giving me the body of the kick, not the click, not the final texture, just the weight and the crunch. The punch gives the impact, the crunch gives the body. Now I duplicate the crunch layer to create the texture, and this is where I can get way more aggressive. First, I remove the low end, a lot of it. Then inside Serum 2, I start pushing the effects harder. I add soft clipping, then EQ. I boost the upper mids and bring down some of the lower mids. After that, I add hyperdimension at the top of the chain to make the texture wider. Then I add a comb filter for that metallic movement. Then multiband compression to bring everything forward, and then utility, keeping the low end controlled. After that, I go back and change some of the wavetables until the crunch and the texture feel different enough from each other. That part matters. If the texture sounds exactly like the crunch, it's not really adding anything. Then I add roar to push the distortion even more. But because roar brings back some low end, I add another EQ after it and cut the lows again. Finally, I add Redux for a little bit of digital damage. Not too much, just enough to make the top layer feel more broken and aggressive. Now listen to the texture with and without the effects. By itself, it sounds kind of extreme, but inside the full kick, it adds energy. Now I group everything together, punch, crunch, texture, and then I record the full kick into one audio layer. This is where it starts feeling like one sound instead of 3 separate layers. Then I add utility and keep the bass mono. So on the final kick track, I add Pro Q3. But instead of cutting the whole signal, I clean the low end on the side channel. This helps avoid phase problems and keeps the low end more focused. This is why I always say a hard kick is not one sound. It's a system. Punch for impact, crunch for weight and aggression, texture for energy, and final processing for control. That's also the idea behind KROSPER. Not random sounds everywhere. A workflow built to help you create harder drops faster. If you want the Serum 2 sounds, kick tools, racks, generators, and presets I use for this kind of production, check the links below. The Serum 2 Vault is there, and the full Ultimate Bundle is there too. Now let's hear the final kick in context.